Hey guys, come follow me time. So we're in 2nd Nephi, chapters 3 through 5. Amazing goodness this week. Really, sometimes there's not as amazing goodness. Now, there's some good information, but I love, and endeavor to live the principle in Nephi, 2nd Nephi, chapter 5. It is life-changing, has been for me, and it's taken many years to learn it, and I'm still learning it. But boy, is it just getting more and more depth of goodness and Christ-like relation, and I'm having more and more thoughts spark in my mind about it. So that's where I'm focusing my lesson if I was going to teach. I'm leaving that lesson for the sub to teach because I'm going to be away, and you'll get to see lots of that with the beach and the other stuff I do because I'll post it. But focus on what's going to be best for your class when you teach, because there's so much to choose from and you're not going to get it all in. And don't try and squish it in. Pick what's going to work for you. It's how the Come Fly Me manual works. Remember, it's a home thing that we do at home. Church supports it. Home-centered, church supported. But it's home. You do it at home. Whatever you get on Sunday, it's just like some drizzles on top of your ice cream sundae. And it could be the most amazing drizzles if you've got a great teacher and you're fully into it and you go prepared. Absolutely. But do what's best for your family and what you're learning. Focus on what's going to be best for you. But anyway, let's look at chapter 3. This is 4 Josephs. So 4 Josephs here. This is Lehi. He passes away in chapter 4, and we'll get to that. But in chapter 3, by this time he's spoken to his other sons, which we've covered last week, which was beautiful. Just talking to you. Some good stuff in there too. Chapter 2 is really long, but full of good information, and you can learn a lot of lessons from that, and take them from someone who's been there and known, right? But this is talking specifically to Joseph, and he starts off here, "And now I speak unto you, Joseph, my lastborn." This is the youngest. "Was born in the wilderness of mine affliction." So in the hardest days I was having in my entire life, you came along, and oh my gosh, did you bring joy to my heart. And I think what a lovely way to talk to your children. So maybe write some nice things like that for your kids. And then in 2 it says, "May the Lord consecrate also unto thee this land, which is a most precious land for thine inheritance." So he's got great joy in Joseph, and you can see that there, and he's praying a blessing on him like he did his other children. Specific to him, we talked about Jacob's anxiety and that he would know this and it would become a part of Jacob's life, and so knowing that, Lehi gave him words of advice to begin with. And this, he's assuring Joseph that he does have a part, he is important, and there's a reason you're named Joseph. Which, awesome. I love this too. So, and then he goes on to talk about, "For thou art the fruit of my loins, and I am a descendant of Joseph, who was carried captive into Egypt." Now, quite a few of us are, in some way or other, a descendant of that family. It was a big family in a time where they had lots of kids. So a lot of us are. But he was too. I am. I can't prove how, but I know that I am. I've got family history that goes back that way, and I come from Joseph too, but probably a different child than Lehi did, I would say. Maybe not though, who knows? And of all the eras in the world where people marry and intermingle and mix and just bring goodness to the world of lots of children, we're all related somehow, so yeah. But there you go. We called you that because he's a descendant. Now, we called him that because of who he was and what he did, to give you a strong example to look to. But there's also more to it. And then he goes on to talk about what Joseph saw. And in verse 5 there he said, "Therefore Joseph truly saw our day, and he obtained a promise of the Lord, that out of the fruit of the loins of the Lord God would raise up a righteous branch unto the house of Israel," not the Messiah, "but a branch which was to be broken off, nevertheless to be remembered in the covenants of the Lord." And he goes on to talk there. So Joseph saw Lehi's time, maybe a little after Lehi, when they were maybe more settled in the promised land, but he saw that, and he wrote about that. Joseph truly testified, saying, "A seer shall the Lord my God raise up, and shall be a choice seer unto the fruit of my loins." That's our day. So he saw both, which is pretty cool. And he talks on about who the seer is going to be, and the covenant that they've made is a covenant that I've made with you as well. And in verse 9, which is a really interesting study, and he shall be great like unto Moses, whom I have said I would raise up unto you to deliver my people, O house of Israel. And he goes on, a seer I'll raise up, and talk about it. Now, just go with me here for a minute, where Joseph Smith's translating all of this and writing it down. Oliver Cowdery's writing it down for him at this point. And it says in, I've gone, where have I gone? I've totally lost it, I'm sorry. 19, hang on, here we go. 24 and 19, anyway. Goes on. So 19's good. And the words which he shall write shall be the words which are expedient. My wisdom should go forth unto the fruit of thy loins, and it shall be as if the fruit of thy loins had cried unto them for the dust, for I know their faith. These words are for us. That was in there. But Joseph Smith, it says in here, and I cannot find it for the life of me looking, but I know it says it, that he will be called after the name of his father. And I think that's in verse 15. 15, it is, 15. I didn't mark it. Dang it, sorry guys. And his name shall be after me, and it shall be after the name of his father. So he's going to be called Joseph, like this is Joseph of Egypt talking. It's going to be the same name as me, and it's going to be the same name as his father. So there's 4 fathers. There's Joseph of Egypt, Joseph who belongs to Lehi, Joseph Smith Sr., Joseph Smith Jr. And they're all in there, and like they all play their parts. But Joseph of Egypt, says here, Joseph spoke of this, I'm going to raise up the seer, and he's going to be like unto Moses. So which ways to you are Joseph Smith and Moses the same? Look at that. Both led a people in a different way, but they led them out of captivity. Both had experiences with Christ appearing to them, or God appearing to them, or both. Both of them, there's a lot of things. I wrote down a bunch of stuff, but what do you think? What's the comparison to you? I think there's a lot in there. So there's some wonderful things in there. 24 I also put down to talk about. Just the restoration of Israel, the gathering of Israel, the restoration of it. That's all there. There's really rich stuff about these 4 Josephs. So the page is going there. So named of Joseph of Egypt. Lehi speaks of what remarkable things Joseph of Egypt saw and did. He saw Lehi in his day and Joseph Smith Jr. and Sr. in our day. Comparing Moses to Joseph Smith, the promises and the covenants given to both are especially, the promises and covenants given to both. Compare those. Like they're both very similar results, probably just achieved in a different way, but amazing. And the ones for Joseph Smith, the covenants given to him, are still happening as in the restoration of Israel. So what things do you see different? And what do you think Joseph Smith would have felt when he was, okay, get back to that, sorry guys, when he was, reading this and Oliver's writing it, do you think he paused and went, hang on a minute, how do you feel when you find yourself in that kind of thing? Wouldn't he just take 5 and be like, oh my gosh? Or do you think at that point he was a little more, oh, okay, I think nothing can really prepare you for that. So it's incredible that that was written and he didn't make a big deal out of it. He just went, right. Because I had things happen like that where I'm like, you're called to do this. And I'm like, okay. And then the things that happen within that, I'm like, this was specifically for me to do. I know this now. And that's still incredible. And that's nothing on the scale of what Joseph Smith was doing. So some great stuff in there. And a lot of people use that as like Joseph was writing himself into the book. No, because he wouldn't have written himself that way. He just wouldn't have. He wouldn't have written it that way. It's not who he was. So yeah, great stuff. Have a look at those verses. You got verse 3, Lehi's Joseph. Verse 4 to 5, Joseph of Egypt. And it talks about, like Lehi talks, like quoting what Joseph saw from the plates that they had of the record. And 3:7 to 8 is Joseph Smith Jr. And then in 3:15 you see Joseph Smith Sr. pop up, just briefly named for him. And it's just wonderful to see this. And if your name's Joseph, look at that. There's a lot of them in there. Yeah, some good people there. All right, hang around. We're going to go over to chapter 4. See you there.